How would you like to reach more people for free or potentially get paid to reach more people? This getting kind of juicy, right? Book more interviews. That's the secret. You have to be seen and heard across platforms, in person and digitally. Being visible is a must for growing your business. This is about you doing more of what you love. To make these steps that I'm about to talk about really valuable, I want you to start a spreadsheet. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to She Means Fitness Business, a division of Voice for Fitness, my overarching business. And at Voice for Fitness, we know that you want to be an inspirational example to midlife women. In order to do that, you need a profitable health and fitness coaching business. And the problem is a lack of clients or a lack of money because you're not charging what you're worth, which makes you feel uncertain about whether you can actually succeed doing this. We believe that you deserve consistent, dependable revenue from clients you love. And look, I understand how it feels where you are because I've been there too, which is why I now train fitness professionals internationally. And here's how I do it. We work together to get you more clients. And then we work on making more profit from every client. We also then celebrate, but create freedom. Because one of the number one problems with trainers who get more clients is that they're trading dollars for hours and they back themselves into a corner where they have to work all the time to make the money. We're going to build it so that you have freedom along the way. So you first book a call with me. That's the first step. We can talk about getting you more clients then. In the meantime, I want you to get your copy of the Health and Fitness Professionals Business Scorecard. You can assess where you are yourself so you can stop feeling like your dreams are slipping away while other less qualified and less heart-centered coaches make sales and get more clients. And instead, you could easily increase your revenue by at least $5,000 a month in the first 90 days. If you're way over and above that, you should be able to expect an increase of 25% by the end of the year. Let's dive into this episode. Listen, I've spoken for a long time about speaking. How's that for a meta? Speaking about speaking. But literally, when you have a one-to-many, we've all experienced that through the pandemic as we had to get on social media. We had to be doing YouTube videos or some kind of selling digitally. But are you just there? Or are you actually communicating and having conversations with people? If no one's talking back, if they're just maybe clicking liking, that's not a two-way conversation, not yet. You really want to make sure that you're connecting in the right way. So again, I mentioned earlier, get a spreadsheet going because this is going to read like homework. Before you start reaching out to people, create what I call a one sheet or your pitch for topics that you're pitching. But look, here's the difference between a one sheet. If you look that up and you say speakers one sheet, you're going to get all kinds of these populated returns from Google. Thank you very much. That's going to say, okay, put your name, put your credentials, put the topics you can speak on or the names of the speeches that you can give, and put all your social media links, put a picture or two of yourself on it, and put audiences that you've spoken with, and then your credentials, like your education certifications, would go on this one sheet. That's not what I'm talking about. Because somebody who's really going to book you right away wants you to be the expert, not in 27 different things. So you'll see a lot of people on their media page, on their website, and you go to that and it's exactly what I just said. Like, so-and-so could talk about this and this and this and this and this. And it's like, okay, it'd be like looking at the Cheesecake Factory menu. And why that popped into my head, I do not know. But I know that and let's say TGI Fridays, I mean, those are the ones that I remember. I can't even tell you the last time I was at either one of those. It's been a really, really long time. I have no plans to go back, by the way. But they're huge. and overwhelming. And it's hard to make up your mind because by the time you're starting to think, well, I want this, and then it's, no, I want that. I don't know. So hard to make up your mind. And exactly what you don't want to happen for somebody who you said, here. No, no, no. You want to have done your homework before you pitch somebody, especially if it's a radio show host or it's a local television station. Think about what have you seen them host before. So if they've hosted something on this topic or that topic, think about what could you talk about that this must have been really popular or they thought it would because they're not going to put somebody on who's not popular. What's important to them? Show ratings. They're going to get show ratings. They're not going to just bring somebody on who's maybe wants to be on. It's got to be good. So think about this differently than just a list of things that I could talk about because I'm smart and I know things. No, no, no. Be smart by trying to get booked for an interview by targeting this topic. This is news, and here's why I'm going to come and talk about it. So you're going to give them a very specific, here's something I'm talking about. I'm going to pitch that to them. So it's a pitch sheet. That's very different. In it, you're going to include the science, like is there a recent study? Was that in 2021, 2022, or 2023? Probably right now, to be news, it needs to be relevant and recent. So the more recent, the better. But if there is something going on where maybe a celebrity is tied to this topic somehow, maybe a celebrity is talking about osteoporosis. They're dealing with that, or they were diagnosed and what it is that they're doing. Just an example. Then you might go to a study that's in the recent 1 or 2 years and say, something about exercise and the way to do it. And talk about the celebrity who's talking about her own issue. That brings in, celebrity status, that's a thing, plus the relevant recent research. So see what I'm doing? Layering, why is this topical right now? So include that science, include a statistic if there's one from the science, like what's the statistic on how many women, what percentage, what 1 out of X will get osteoporosis or fall and fracture. Give a quote that someone said something about bone density and bullet points for your host. Like these are the talking points, things you'll talk about. Maybe you will talk about again the percent of people, the new studies. What was the old science? What were people doing? What are they doing now? What's controversial? What are people doing that's holding them back or making it worse? What don't people know? What do they don't know about their gut health that might pertain to osteoporosis and their bone health? And then you're going to include your name and your contact information. So notice what I did there. And I just used that topic. But those were all legit things, right? Some of them may have even surprised you. But what you're looking for is shock and awe, somewhat like news sells, yes, but it needs to be dressed up. It needs to walk and talk and be very, very cool. So you want to figure out, how do I do that with the news and something that I'm going to pitch to someone? But so much better than to say, hey, I've got this idea for you. We've got a great speaker and they're famous and they just wrote a book and you should have them on to promote them. That's what it feels like a lot of times when a PR company approaches me pitching their speaker, somebody who's paid them to do that. It feels like it's all, how is that going to help them? There is nothing about how does it help our podcast listeners get something tangible, and how is it unique from a way that we've covered a topic before? That, if you want to really get booked and get booked faster, it's going to take you a little bit longer to do the homework before you approach somebody, but the odds that that person will book you are far better. So do the research on your interviewee or the person who makes the decisions on booking people, and then really do homework on what would be the best pitch. So first of all, you have to know what you can talk about. And here's how. Answer some questions about topics that you think you want to talk about right now. Just do a brain dump on a sheet of paper. Write down the things that you think you'd love to talk about. And let me ask you these things about them. So you might click pause right now. But ask yourself this: is it tied to this season, meaning fall, winter, spring, summer? Is it tied to the season you're in right now or the one you're just about to be in? How is it tied to something that's in the news right now? So is there, you know, summertime, is there a lot of talk about SPF, and whether it's toxic or it's good, or what SPF is good and which ones are the best? I mean, is it relevant to something like that? How is it tied to recent science? Mentioned that one earlier. How does it directly benefit the audience that you want to speak in front of? If you can't come up with this, nobody's going to bring you forward, right? How is it beneficial to them, right? And how does it make the host of the show or the anchor, maybe the interviewee on the news, how does it make them look good? I mean, that's important. Do ratings go up? Will they go up because of this juicy topic? Does the boss love it when employees or sales reps have a good meeting experience? I mean, is that why you're pitching yourself that you could talk at their annual meeting or at their quarterly team meeting? You're pitching yourself, but it's not just for the people in the room, it's for the people who are paying the people. Like, what's their benefit? Productivity going to go up? Will they be more satisfied with their job? Be less likely to quit? Less absenteeism? What's going to come out of this for them? You need to be able to say that and put it in words when you're talking to them. Think specific to your audience on this one. So remember that businesses need to hear about outcomes that matter to businesses. What do they measure? Productivity, revenue, absenteeism, use of their insurance, right? Okay, next piece of homework. Once you've done that, call every friend that you have. So once you've put your topics through the filter system of how are you going to make them seem sexy to somebody else, not just to you, call every friend that you have, both of them or all 227 of them, depending on who you are, and ask her, him for every group that they're in. Talk about, hey, I can talk about these topics to a business. This is how they'd be relevant. Or I can talk about it to, say, a women's group or a women's church group. And here's how they would benefit. Ask for the meeting planner's name and contact information if they have it. Hey, and it's, by the way, if you're doing this, it's often the vice president of a club or the vice president elect. So as I'm doing this live, it's April, or early April. And if you're listening to it shortly after it comes out, they know some organizations know by the first week of May or so, because they may have their last meeting before they take a summer break in May. And that is when they install the officers for the next year. And the officers don't do much except for meet behind the scenes in the summer. And one of the things that they do, often the vice president is the one who books programs. So if there's 9 months that they meet out of a year, usually the first one is either going to be August or sometimes September, really near Labor Day is that first meeting. That's the first meeting. So September, October, November, December, January, February, April, May, depending on who it is, but they may meet all of those or just some of them. But that vice president is often the meeting planner. So it's their role to book something topical. So in fall, September is big. Often I've been asked to speak on fitness for women's group in September. That's been a big time. January is the other big time. So if that's your niche, health and fitness are top of mind, getting back into routines at both of those times. And, another anomaly might be like November or October, as you are entering the holidays. So, ways to, enjoy the holidays a little bit more healthy way. Those are some other options that you might really want to dive down. But don't wait till then. The planning happens now for next year. By the time they're printing programs up, it's too late. So if they're printing programs by July, to distribute in August or maybe September. You may have a little bit longer, but I would not wait on this. I would get right into it, because as soon as someone is tapped on the shoulder and said, "You are now the vice president, you're in charge of meetings," they want to get right on it. They're excited. They want to do a good job. So you need to be excited about reaching out to them. Ask for an introduction via email or coffee. Like, meet somebody for coffee if you want to. Or I am not a coffee person. I would say, "Do you want to go for a hike?" Right? And then don't leave them in the dust. If you're in better shape than them, that will not go over well. All right. Can't tell you how I know that. All right. So then call their local radio and news stations. So now maybe you're creating tabs on your spreadsheet if you're staying with me. So your first tab is, these are all the topics I could talk about. Here's reasons, like here's a statistic. Here's a quote, different column. Here's the URL for the science so that I can mention that. And then on another tab, you're going to go to the organizations that all of your friends, like, what's the organization? Who's the contact? Who's my friend? Who's going to introduce me? And how do I need to follow up? When are their meetings usually? What kind of topics do they enjoy for the meetings? The next tab might be your local radio and news stations. So get them all. Don't eliminate anything, even though you may think, "Oh, somebody says that's not a good one," or "I never listened to that one." Maybe you should start, because it still may be great exposure to people you otherwise wouldn't. Call them up. You can look them up online. They all have websites. Call them up. You're going to get some kind of intern, potentially, or desk clerk, ask for the producer. When they say which producer, say the one that books guests. That's all you're going to say. I know it sounds silly, but literally that has been my answer when I didn't know the producer's name. You call them up and say, "The one that books guests." Oh, well, often they don't even miss a beat. They will just say, "Oh, okay. Yep. For, the noon show, it's this. For the, 5:30 a.m. show, it's this." Right? So write them down, get them. If they transfer you, or say, "Yeah, I can transfer you right now," you're going to leave a message, and then, you're not going to be in control. So right before they transfer you, say, "Just in case something happens or we get disconnected, could I have that direct line or the extension? Or is there an email where I could also follow up?" Because here's the deal, you're going to leave a message and they are way busy, way busy. News is happening 24/7. And if there's a news show and they're there and they're in charge of it 5 days a week or more than that, they have too many things coming at them. It's not their responsibility to call you back. It's probably not that juicy for them. So you're the one who needs to empower them by continuing to call, do them a favor, but you'd love their email address so you could email them your pitch, and then you could keep following up with that and keep calling them back. There is a best time to call. So think about, when is the show that they produce? And then there's often, if you try to reach them during the show, a big mistake, right? Because they're not going to get it. So try to reach them right after the show is over, because that's when they're looking at new content for the next show. They need it right away. So write some notes on that as well. Next, start contacting people, and on all of your spreadsheets, for the ones you got from your friends, the organizations, the producers, start contacting people, recording the date and the details. What happened? Did I talk to somebody live? What did they tell me? What was the best time to contact their producer? Who is the best person to reach for, that is the vice president of this group? How do I reach them? What's the best time? You want to ask questions when you get anywhere. And if you don't get anywhere, you still call back. What you have to remember is, no answer is not an answer. It's not a yes or a no. And no sometimes is just, "No, not right now." But if you take that and you just expect they'll call you back when they want you, no, they won't. No. But you might be able to put a new spin on something else. Maybe right now it's not right for Valentine's Day, but maybe it's going to be right for May Day or Cinco de Mayo or something else. So whatever it is your topic is, see, can there be a new spin on it and a way to pitch it at another time for relevance and Keep combing the news because sometimes when you hear about a celebrity talking about a crazy diet, when you hear about a celebrity endorsing a crazy workout program or coming out with something new, or again, Jane Fonda, right? And she's often right now, she's in social media, and every once in a while she'll have, I'm doing this training program so I can have better balance and be more stable, and she's showing what she's doing. You could do some kind of a, what about what she's doing? Is that the ideal? What do we know about this? You could start with that, as a pitch. So hope that was helpful. But there are two other episodes that you're going to want to go back to. So, one, stop boring introductions. So, the last thing you want to do is use today's podcast, get booked in front of a group, and then hand them your bio or introduction and have it be terrible. Like, right? Have it put everybody to sleep. That's the last thing you want. So stop your boring introductions. It's a bio makeover show. You're going to love it. It's easy, but it reads kind of like a workshop, so you can make yours better. The second one, it was almost like part one, part two, and then today's spun out of it. Part two is get interviews and be asked back. Like, how do you be gold when you give an interview? So that's probably the better title, give an interview and get asked back. And then today, it's literally, how do you book more interviews? So literally, this is potentially the hardest part. You may be great on camera or behind a microphone answering questions. You may know how to do all the other things I said in the previous podcast about sound bites, pregnant pauses, know when to embellish and talk in a long, drawn out story and fill space, animate, and also know when to give a real short soundbite that they will listen to. But if any of those you feel like I need to dust that off a little bit, I knew how to do that once, but I haven't done it for a while because the pandemic did that to us. We didn't get out, to those groups. We weren't meeting in people's living rooms, and we weren't even, in churches, giving talks. So if it's time to dust that off, definitely get on this wagon and go and do it. And there you have it. I hope that was helpful. I hope you get in front of more audiences. I hope that gives you more clients and that you charge what you're worth. Today's show notes will be at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/book more interviews. And what are you waiting for? The world needs you right now more than ever. And if you want a little help with that, shameless plug, but I'm hosting the what, the when, and the why to exercise for women 40 and over. And it's made for women who are 40 and over, which may include you, but it's also made for the health coaches and the personal trainers who are serving them. Even a functional doctor can get something out of this because we're going to put together all 39 experts who are talking about the science behind what it is they do. We're talking about how to really exercise now, what we know about exercising for bone density, for preventing it, but also if you're diagnosed, what's true and what's just false and maybe hungover from decades ago. We're going to talk about how to know if you need a joint replacement, and if you do, how do you do prehab and post-rehab so you're safer? How do you avoid everyday activities that actually can be putting stress on joints? It's not just your exercise, y'all. And how do you know what to eat, what you might be most likely to be insufficient in terms of micronutrient density? What might be part of the hidden cause of weight loss resistance? We're covering it all. And I don't want you to miss it. Right now, it's free to enroll. If you feel like May 1st through 7th, that's when we go live. If those are terrible dates for you, you got life going on, you could also buy the recording. So you have them in an arsenal in a library. Look, I mean, there are some things like summits about mold where you're going to get over that. You're going to go through it and get to the other side. With exercise, you're going to keep doing it. So you may want to keep coming back to these resources, and you've got a whole new network of people to help with exactly what you need help with. That will be in the show notes, but the link is flipping50.com/women's exercise. And I hope to see you there on the flip side.